fake news trophy, exclamation point. It seemed like a joke then, but apparently the other networks took it very seriously and started working to win. CNN hyped a WikiLeaks bombshell that went absolutely nowhere. ABC had to suspend Brian Ross after he falsely claimed evidence of pre-election collusion between Trump and Russia. Even old Dave Weigel of the Washington Post, who now has a mustache, got involved. He used a misleading photo to suggest Trump's rally in Pensacola was empty rather than packed. It was quite a week for the press, but instead of pausing for self-reflection, David Frum of The Atlantic said these bungled stories proved the importance of trusting the media.
The mistakes are precisely the reason that people should trust the media. Look, astronomers make mistakes all the time because science is a process of discovery of truth. Astrologers never make mistakes, or at least they never own up to them, because what they're offering is a closed system of ideology and propaganda.
So the mistakes are the reason you ought to trust the accuracy. Is it brilliantly counterintuitive or just stupid? That's the question. Joe Concha writes about media for The Hill. Molly Hemingway is a senior editor at The Federalist, and they both join us tonight. Molly, first to you. I don't begrudge anybody the right to make a mistake once in a while. I've made a ton of them, for sure. I just can't help but notice that all the mistakes that the different channels are making are in the same direction. All the mistakes seem to be kind of solidifying liberal views on things.
Right, and just in this last week alone, you mentioned a few of the stories, but you didn't even get all of the stories.
No,
there were mistakes.
Can't keep
there
track.
was, a false report about Deutsche Bank subpoenaing Trump financial accounts, and there were, there's many, and the New York Times said that KT McFarland had admitted collusion. She did not admit collusion. All these stories go in the same way. So if they want us to believe that these errors are just routine and they are just some things that happen occasionally, why are they all going in the same direction? If they truly were just accidents or things that happen as part of the job, you would expect to see errors go in different directions, errors that make Trump look good as well as bad. Or you would have expected to have seen the same level of erroneous reporting on Barack Obama. We did not see that.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that at all. So, Joe, again, people make mistakes, but if you're consistently wrong, and if you're way out over your skis making predictions that don't match reality, in any other business, you would be demoted or at least asked to take some time off. You'd be fired from the military. No one ever gets fired in the media except for groping others at Christmas parties. Have you noticed that?
Well, Brian Ross did get a 4-week suspension, so let's be clear about that. In the CNN case, there were no suspensions or reprimands in that particular instance. I keep hearing, and I saw this during the press briefing today, that reporters are saying, look, we just made mistakes. We're just trying to get to the truth. The problem is there is a rush to get to that every time. And the CNN example is perfect with the WikiLeaks story because, remember, the network went ahead with information that was read to them. And then the Washington Post did the right thing. They actually got the document that showed that the information was false. In essence, that Donald Trump Jr. and Trump associates received that information 10 days later. In other words, they took a little more effort and took a little more time and actually got the document. Now, and one more point, by the way, in terms of we hear about unnamed sources, right? These aren't innocent whistleblowers. These are political operatives, or they may even be lawmakers themselves. And they realize now they could weaponize false information because you have reporters that are like that Jim Comey analogy I used earlier in the year, seagulls at the beach that will eat anything and gobble it up regardless of the quality or even know what they're eating. And let me give you one more stat. Jim Sciutto, who is a foreign affairs correspondent for CNN, he pushed out this story, like everybody does when their network gets a big exclusive. And that got 2,300 retweets and 3,300 likes on Twitter. He then sends out the correction saying, no, we got it wrong, and this is what the story actually says. You know how many retweets that got? 52. And only 148 likes. I'm not very good at math, but I believe that's about 2%. So that's the thing. Even when the correction's done, the allegation always trumps the exoneration.
So, Molly, the substance of these stories, maybe not that's ridiculous Russia story or how many people went to some Trump rally. Like, in the end, who cares? But what if, if we were in a war or there were like an actual crisis in this country and nobody trusted media outlets, what would that do to our society?
It's a very dangerous thing to not be able to trust a media outlet or have a general confidence that the media will get a story right. But I actually think the substance is key here. What we've seen for the last year is an obsession with a story about treasonous collusion with Russia to steal an election. The substance of that is so important. It has undermined a legitimately elected president, and it has been something that the media have been hammering on day after day. I mean, multiple stories a day.
Yes.
What if the real scandal is that itself was an information operation, and that it was weaponized and it was distributed through the media, and our media people either willingly fell for it or unwittingly fell for it? Either of those scenarios is extremely dangerous, and it doesn't feel like we have a media complex capable of really digging into the significance of that story.
Right, because they're incapable of self-reflection, and I actually am starting to think that's exactly what it was. Wish we had more time. Molly Jo,